You're stretched out on the couch in the one perfect warm spot, and the dog wants it. You can see it wanting it. And then the dog gets up, trots to the window, and starts barking. Urgent, like something's out there, like the mail carrier, or a cat, or the end of the world. So you sigh and get up to look. And there's nothing. Empty street, quiet yard. And you turn around, and the dog is curled up in your warm spot, settled, comfortable, looking at you with an expression that is either complete innocence or something a lot more pleased with itself than innocence should be. And you stand there and you think, wait, did it just trick me? Did my dog just lie to get me off the couch? So that's the question tonight. Can animals lie? Can they deceive, on purpose, with intent, the way we do? Or are we just projecting again, seeing a clever little con where there's really nothing but coincidence and a dog who happened to want the warm spot? Because this question opens a door into some of the strangest, funniest, most unsettling behavior in the entire animal world. And by the end of it, the answer is going to flip around and tell you something genuinely comforting about honesty and about the creature sleeping at your feet. By the end of this, I'm going to tell you about a bird that screams hawk when there is no hawk, purely to make other animals drop their food and flee in terror so it can swoop in and steal it. And that switches to a different fake alarm when the first one stops working. A full-time con artist with feathers, and about a bird that digs up its own buried food and rehides it in secret, but only when it knows a thief was watching. But the deepest thing we're building toward is this. The fact that animals can lie at all turns out to reveal something beautiful and reassuring about why honesty almost always wins. Stay with me, because this one ends somewhere warmer than you'd expect from a video about lying. First, we have to be careful about what we even mean by a lie, because deception in nature comes in two very different flavors, and only one of them is really lying. So let's separate them. The first flavor is the deception that evolution writes into an animal with no thought or intent behind it at all. Think of camouflage. A creature that blends into the bark of a tree is, in a sense, deceiving every predator that looks at it. Think of mimicry, the harmless butterfly whose wings have evolved to look just like a poisonous one, fooling birds into leaving it alone. The butterfly isn't choosing to deceive, it doesn't know it looks dangerous. Evolution did the lying for it, over millions of years, and the butterfly just wears the costume. And some of these built-in deceptions are spectacular and look incredibly deliberate. There's a bird that, when a predator gets near its nest full of chicks, will flop along the ground dragging a wing as if it's broken, crying out, looking like the easiest meal in the world. The predator, seeing wounded prey, follows it, and the bird leads it away, limping pitifully, staying just out of reach, drawing the danger farther and farther from the nest. And then, once the predator is far enough from the chicks, the bird's broken wing miraculously heals and it flies off, perfectly fine, leaving the confused predator with nothing. It looks like a brilliant, calculated bluff. But it's mostly instinct, a script written by evolution and performed without real understanding. It's a deception with no deceiver behind it in any conscious sense. Beautiful, life-saving, but not quite lying. So the real question, the interesting one, is about the second flavor, tactical deception. An individual animal in the moment choosing, flexibly, to manipulate what another animal knows or believes to get something it wants. That's lying in the sense we mean it. And the question is whether animals do that. And the answer is yes. Demonstrably, repeatedly, sometimes jaw-droppingly, yes. Start with the primates, where this has been catalogued for decades. Researchers have collected hundreds of cases of monkeys and apes deceiving each other, and the cleverness is uncomfortable. A young baboon who's done something it shouldn't with a dominant adult approaching will suddenly stand up and stare intently at the horizon, as if it spotted a threat, making the adult turn and scan the distance too, conveniently forgetting about the young one's misbehavior. A chimp who's found a hidden stash of food will sometimes sit on it, or wander away from it casually, or simply not give the food call it would normally give, staying silent so that the others don't come and make it share. That suppression of a signal, choosing not to announce the food specifically so rivals stay away, is a quiet, deliberate act of deception. The animal is managing what the others know. It has something, and it is working to keep them from finding out. Now the professional con artist I promised you. There's a bird that has turned deception into a career. It lives near other animals that forage for food, and it has learned their alarm calls, the cries that mean a hawk is coming, scatter, run. And this bird will give that alarm call when there is no hawk at all. The other animals, hearing the warning, panic and abandon their food and bolt for cover, and the lying bird swoops down and steals what they dropped. It's a straight-up con. It cries danger to clear the table. And here's the part that lifts it out of pure instinct and into something eerily clever. The targets aren't stupid. If the bird uses the same fake call too many times, the others start to catch on and stop reacting, so the bird switches it up. It has a whole repertoire of different alarm calls, including imitations of other species, and it rotates them, deploying a fresh lie when the old one stops fooling its marks. That flexibility, that changing of the lie in response to the target catching on, is very hard to explain as blind instinct. That looks like an animal reading its victims and adjusting its strategy. That looks like a liar who knows it's lying. And it gets more sophisticated still, into territory that brushes up against reading another creature's mind. Remember the food-hiding birds from earlier in this series? The scrub jays who cache food in hundreds of secret spots. Here's a thing they do. If a jay buried its food while another jay was watching, it will later, in private, when the watcher is gone, dig that food back up and move it to a new hiding place. But, and this is the crucial part, it only bothers to do this if it was actually watched. If it cached its food alone with no one looking, it leaves it where it is. It rehides specifically when it knows another bird saw. The jay is tracking what the other bird knows and acting to defeat that knowledge. And the detail that should give you chills is this. The jays who are most paranoid about being watched, most likely to go back and move their food, are the jays who have themselves been thieves. It takes a thief to know a thief. A jay that has robbed others assumes it will be robbed and protects itself accordingly. That is an animal modeling another animal's intentions based on its own. That is getting genuinely close to understanding a mind. And dogs, since we started with the couch. Researchers actually tested whether dogs would deceive a human. They set up situations where a dog worked with two different people, one generous who shared treats and one selfish who kept the good treats for themselves. And the dogs learned to mislead the selfish partner, leading them, more often than chance, to a box that was empty, steering the bad human away from the good food so the dog could get it from the cooperative human instead. The dogs deployed deception, flexibly, against the person, based on whether that person had proven trustworthy. So yes, your dog, in principle, has the equipment to mislead you. Which brings us right back to that suspiciously empty street it barked at while it eyed your warm spot. I can't prove that particular dog ran a con, but the capacity is absolutely there. So, animals can lie. Some of them brilliantly. And now we arrive at the deep thing, the constraint that makes all of this make sense and that turns the whole episode around. Because here's a question that should be nagging at you. If lying works so well, if you can steal food just by crying hawk, why doesn't everyone lie all the time? Why isn't the whole animal world just a chaos of constant deception? And the answer is the most important idea in this entire subject. Deception only works because honesty is the rule. Think about why the fake alarm call works. It works because alarm calls are almost always true. The meerkats flee when they hear hawk because, the overwhelming majority of the time, hawk means there is actually a hawk, and the ones who ignored it got eaten. The lie is a parasite. It feeds off a system of signals that is mostly honest. And the moment lying becomes too common, the whole thing collapses. If that con artist bird cried hawk every 5 minutes, the others would simply stop listening. The signal would become meaningless and the trick would die. The lie can only survive as the rare exception in an ocean of truth. This is true everywhere communication exists. A signal only carries information if it's usually honest. If most food calls were fake, no one would ever come to a food call. If most warning cries were lies, no one would ever heed a warning, and animals would die for lack of warnings that worked. So, there's a hard ceiling on how much deception any system can carry before it stops functioning entirely. Lies are a few drops of poison, and they only work because the water is mostly clean. Honesty isn't just nice to have, it's the load-bearing foundation that even the liars are secretly standing on. The con artist needs everyone else to be honest. The thief needs a world built on trust to rob. Deception is real, but it is permanently, structurally outnumbered because it has to be or nothing works at all. And now the turn, the mirror, because all of this points straight back at us. We treat lying as a uniquely human moral failing, a shameful flaw. Something we have to carefully teach children not to do, as if the capacity for it were some special corruption. But look at what the animals just showed us. The ability to deceive is ancient. It's everywhere. It's standard equipment for any clever social creature, written into the bird and the jay and the chimp. Being able to lie is not what makes us bad. It's just what comes with being smart and social in a world where information is power. The capacity itself is morally neutral and biologically old. What's actually different about human lying isn't that we can do it, the drongo can do it. What's different is the scale and the abstraction. Language gave us the power to lie about things that aren't even present, things that don't exist, things in the past and the future. The con artist bird can only cry one thing: hawk, here, now. We can construct entire cathedrals of falsehood. We can lie elaborately, lie about ideas, lie to thousands of people at once, lie to ourselves so thoroughly we believe it. That's the real danger of our gift, not that we lie, but how far and how abstractly we can. But here's the reassuring twist, the thing that closes the loop. The very existence of all this lying proves how powerful honesty is. Because the liars are rare. They have to be. They are a tiny, parasitic minority feeding off a vast and ancient foundation of trust. And that foundation is the deeper, stronger, more fundamental force. Every con depends on a background of honesty it's secretly exploiting. Every lie borrows its power from the truth it imitates. Which means the bedrock of communication, in nature and in us, was never deception. It was always honesty. The truth-tellers are the rule, the ocean, the load-bearing wall. The liars are the exception, and they can only ever be the exception, or the whole world of meaning falls apart. Trust isn't the naive option. Trust is the thing that's actually winning, and has to win every single day, just for any of us to understand each other at all. So let's bring it home, to the warm spot on the couch and the creature that may or may not have conned you off it. Does your dog lie to you? In tiny, occasional, opportunistic ways, maybe it does. The fake out for the comfortable seat. The mournful, starving eyes aimed at the family member who doesn't know you already fed it. Small cons, here and there. But here is the truth that actually matters, and it's the warmest thing in this whole episode. Your dog is overwhelmingly, radically, helplessly honest with you. It cannot hide its joy when you walk through the door. It physically cannot fake the explosion of happiness, the whole body wag, the eyes. It cannot conceal its fear, or its excitement, or its love. Its entire body is a constant, unfiltered broadcast of its inner state. The tail, the ears, the eyes, the lean of its weight against your leg, all of it pouring out the truth of how it feels, every second, with no mask and no filter. Most of what your pet tells you it could not lie about if it tried, because it never learned how. And think about what that's worth in a human world. You spend your days surrounded by polite masks, curated faces, small social lies, the fine, the no problem, the looks great, careful performances, everywhere, all the time. And then you come home to a creature that has never once performed a feeling it didn't have. When your dog is happy to see you, you know it's real because it is constitutionally incapable of faking it. You always know exactly where you stand with it. In a life full of people who can wear a mask, you share your home with one of the only beings that never figured out how. That transparent, unfakeable, total honesty is a kind of rest, a relief you might not even have known to be grateful for. It might, honestly, be part of why we love them as much as we do. So yes, animals can lie, some of them with breathtaking skill in their narrow, hungry, survival-driven ways. But the deepest truth of the whole thing is that lying is the rare exception, and honesty it floats on, and the warm body at your feet is one of the most honest presences in your entire life. Isn't it strange, and isn't it reassuring, how the whole vast web of animal communication holds together on a foundation of mostly telling the truth? The bird cries a false alarm and gets away with it precisely because alarms are usually real. The jay hides its food from a watcher it cannot quite stop imagining. The dog broadcasts its every feeling because it never learned to do anything else. It's the same machinery we followed all season into every quiet room. The mind that feels watched in the dark, that loses itself in a doorway, that raises for it no longer has, that keeps half awake in a strange bed, that holds its missing people, that keeps watch over a failing body, that chooses a favorite, that grieves, that dreams, that feels time turn, that forgives, that envies. And here again, an ancient system, communication itself, built on a deep and unshakable floor of honesty that even the cleverest liars cannot do without. So, can animals lie? They can. But the more remarkable fact, the one worth carrying home, is how rarely it pays to, and how the entire living world of signals and calls and wagging tails rests on the quiet, ancient, load-bearing power of telling the truth. The liars are clever, but the honest ones are the foundation. And the creature in your house, who could not fake its love for you if its life depended on it, is standing right at the heart of that foundation, broadcasting the truth of how it feels about you, all day, every day, in the only language it ever needed. I never learned to hide it. When you come home, my whole body says so, and I couldn't stop it if I wanted to. When I'm afraid, you can see it. When I love you, which is most of the time, it's written all over me, plain as daylight, with nothing held back and nothing performed. The clever ones out there have their tricks, their false alarms, their secret hiding places. I have none of that. I only have the truth of how I feel, pouring out of me every second you're near. Maybe that's the simplest thing I have to offer you. In a world where everyone else can wear a mask, I never figured out how. With me, what you see is exactly, only, all of what's there.